What's up, man?
Not much, just very overwhelmed with so many ideas, so many things that can be achieved in such a era. We're living in such a great era, but it really comes down to how we're going to implement this whole thing. I think that's what it comes down to the most.
Implement what?
Well, AI, obviously, and getting closer to that moment where AI still influence the communication, but not necessarily being visible to the consumer, because I think the consumer doesn't like that all AI thing in general.
Okay. So, I mean, is it a question of like, we talked the other day and I was like, I think in a year or two, when somebody gets a cold call, that's a real person, they're going to be happy. They're going to be excited to talk to a real person. That's how crazy AI is going to get. So, I mean, if we look at it as a part of a sale, and car sales are very, very retail, yeah, where is it going to go? And what do you think? I guess the question is this. Last time we spoke, we talked about chatbots and things like that. But there's a hell of a lot more to it.
Definitely. I think there are a lot of things that as we mentioned in the previous discussion, that we haven't really discovered yet. But we're in the journey to discover those things as we moving forward with whatever data we're gathering and analyzing and understanding, and because this all AI thing, in a way, it's very new to the world, and not just to the automotive industry, but to every single one of us, So that changes as we're speaking.
So, I mean, I guess there's three different applications if we break them down. One is for the dealer. And when I say dealer, so you have dealer, and then you have user, and then you have consumer, which is shopper. And those are three completely different things. The dealer might get a great piece of software, but if the user, which it might be the sales rep in this case, doesn't use it, the consumer doesn't benefit. So we have to look at it from three different tiers, no?
Well, I think there's a kind of like there's something in here that is happening as we speaking, not just the development, but the challenges as we're facing them, right? And I think the biggest challenge is to, again, avoid the coherence of the AI, but still be able to use the AI and leverage the power of the AI in order to influence the sales, the communication and whatever comes with that. So that's like the challenge, in my opinion, because I think that as we're moving forward, consumer will be more afraid of the AI, because obviously we all know that right off the bat, if the bot knows it all, there is an advantages which I don't want to be influenced by as a consumer, right? And a dealer is facing such a challenge because in today we're in 2025, getting into August, right, of this year, and I think that a lot of dealers start leveraging AI, and the more AI being leveraged by dealers, the higher the fatigue of consumers as just been increasing and increasing. It's like you can take a great example as ads back in the day versus today. As we scroll into Instagram, we're looking into the feed or whatever, wherever we're stories and reels and so on and so on. The ads, when they come up, we are triggered to look at that as an ad, something they're trying to sell us. Those ads are becoming very personalized. They're very much like appealing. They're very much all of those beautiful stuff that they're trying to create. But that's an issue too, because we start creating that kind of mechanism in each one of us that tell us, what, wait a second, they're trying to sell me something. They know things about me. They know what I'm triggered by, and therefore they're using it to leverage the power of the sale, right, on me. And that's something that I think a lot of people will eventually be afraid of even more, especially when it comes to, again, second most important thing, that a decision that we make in our life, which is buying a vehicle, right? So I think that's the biggest issue of all. That's the biggest challenge, again, the challenge of being able to implement immersively the AI without feeling the AI is actually there. And that's a big challenge, I think, to every software company, not just us.
Yeah, but it also looks like a lot of software companies, or at least what we've seen lately, they're trying to, they don't know when to stop the AI. Either there's not enough AI or there's too much AI. They don't know when to pause it. So,
Yeah.
like for example, AI should not replace, it should empower. It should empower. Like if I was back on the lot today,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if I run through like one day of working at a dealership,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have a very small amount of time in that day that's going to bring in the most amount of results that you're going to have. And I still want to do those things.
Yes.
I still want to perform those tasks because I kind of like doing those things, right? Whether it's closing a deal, whether it's really connecting with somebody. And if I had a perfect AI, I'm just kind of going back into operations.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, let me do what I'm good at doing and have the AI be like the best assistant you could ever have.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's gonna, but not just on the sales side. Also, again, if I'm a user in this picture, I want it on the sales side. If I'm the dealer in this equation, I kind of want the AI to run other things and to give me information like, hey, this car is aging, you've got offers, let's drop the price, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. Also, if I'm the dealer, because I've been on both ends, sometimes just because we have the software, if the users, the reps don't use it, it's worthless.
Yeah, we can take the best example of all of price drop automation that we created
Right.
back in the day. We're the first one probably to implement that, not probably, but for sure we are. And
Yeah.
many other companies has followed us, to create the same thing. But yeah, we found right off the bat that most dealers didn't really use the feature, meaning, in other words, taking that price and drop it, right? So it really comes down to how accessible that is, how easy those decisions are when it matters the most, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Like I had a conversation with Tony, and Tony's a friend of ours. He's a big wholesaler here in Southern California. So he talks to a lot of. He spends his days at franchise dealers, and conversation we had last week was, hey, these guys got this great software for videos, and we've been talking about personalized videos of cars, not just photos, not just 360, not just a turnaround video, but an actual video of the vehicle, like a walkthrough. Right. So there's some software that a dealer signed up for, but the sales reps don't use it. Like 10% of sales reps use it. And the ones that do use it do very well with it. But It's a struggle to do this. Think about it. Like right now, it's probably 100 degrees out, 115 degrees out. Who's going to go out there and record a video, different video
Yeah.
5 times a day for different leads? No, not many
No,
people are
absolutely. I
gonna
mean,
do
there's
that.
just no possibility. I mean,
But it still needs to get done. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because there's value in that. So from a user level, from a sales rep level, there's things that we need to do. Okay, that if AI can help automate those things, they're of value because they still need to get done. But if it's gonna take over those major tasks that we have that make us, that make us authentic, that make people trust us, that build a relationship, that might be an issue.
Yeah, I can see that. Definitely. Yeah, I think it's a mixture of different things. As I said earlier, like I think the challenges are not gonna decrease; they will increase with the use of AI. Because
What do you
again,
mean by challenges?
challenges like, for example, if you look at today, a lot of companies offering those like auto scheduling for an appointments and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's still human element even in there. As we developed the auto scheduler ourselves on the automation side, we found that obviously we cannot just like say, okay, yeah, book it, done, like you got the appointment done, and just literally have the consumer talking directly to the AI and just get it confirmed and all these things. So we had to kind of go around and figure, okay, what will be best way for the dealer to confirm an appointment that is requested at the moment, and now it's being done. So we need to be able to involve the dealer in those scenarios. And let's say what happens when, let's say, you approve the appointment, and what happened when we get closer to the appointment. And so there's a lot of things that needs to happen. So like reminder, for the dealer and for the consumer, as well as a mechanism where the dealer knows, okay, a request for an appointment came in, and things like that, which needs to flow. It needs to create a easier flow, because in today's world, what's happening is that, let's say you're a consumer, you're trying to create an appointment, right? So you're gonna call the dealership, you're gonna say, hey, is this available? And then someone will answer the phone and say, yes, it is available. Would you like to come in to look at that,
Yeah.
And then that person will end up coming to the lot at the point where it suits for the both parties. But what actually happening in communication, as such as AI, where, let's say, after hours, what's happening in that case? Who will answer? Who will confirm this appointment? And that's creating an issue. That creating a challenge in a way, because you still need to merge that into the flow. You still need to make sure that the appointment is being confirmed by a human. So there is still a lot of things that needs to happen in order to make the AI work in a way. So yeah, there are a lot of challenges when it comes to kind of implementing AI into your workflow in a way.
Yeah, and it looks like a lot of these different AIs and tools and features also, they live in different ecosystems completely.
Yes.
Right. So you're going to have one chat bot here and one automation over here, and sometimes they don't live in the same CRM. And if they don't live in the same CRM, they definitely, it's very hard to get that advice on a deal level in real
Absolutely.
time. So last week, was it last week? We talked about some new things that we're looking at putting out into our AI, and that's
for sure.
our AI is called the Advantage. It's a Dealer Advantage AI. So it's a collection of lots of different tools all within one that work natively with each other in the same platform.
Yeah. So the Advantage is, as it speaks, it's actually giving the dealer an advantage in every single way, which is very much like covers the dealer in those areas where it matters the most, and it lifts the dealer and allow him to make better decision overall, if that makes sense. So when it comes to, let's say, dropping a price of a vehicle, or when it comes to request a review in the right timing, and maybe just like look into your dealership data and information, and instead of trying to kind of like be going deep into the numbers, just getting an actual report from an AI that kind of lay out to you what needs to be done next, like in terms of even acquisition, or for example, how your sales team doing, each one of your, sales persons on the lot, how they're actually, doing in general, and where they need to be improving, and where they need to be, what they need to be avoiding, perhaps, So there's a lot of metrics that a GM, even in a franchise dealership, let's take classic scenario, right? Like a franchise dealer has, I don't know, 20 people, let's say, trying to sell cars, trying to do everything they can. They meet in the morning, they sit down, they say, okay, let's send as many emails as we can. Let's try to touch base with whoever we can and all those things, But guess what? Most of those 20 people go to their desks and they don't really do what they're supposed to do. And that's an issue right there. And so what we intend to do is to make the follow-ups automatically, so you don't have to worry about it in a way, right? And all the other flows, for example, like we analyze conversations over time. We're extracting the vehicle interest. We're doing all kinds of different things that allows us to gather a lot of data into one prospect, which is the lead, right? In that case. And that help us to map a direction in which we can make a sale much easier than ever before, if that makes sense.
Well, so, in that scenario, like what's in place to help sales reps take back over to do that, 10, 20% of the work that they really love doing?
I think I don't know if it's about if they like or they don't like, because I might have some people that coming into the lot and you know what, they hate their day, they hate their morning. Maybe they woke up on their left side and there's something going on back home, and they're not supposed to be naturally functioning normal because it's natural to be sometimes off,
Okay.
of the track, right? So in that case, I will say our job is to make sure that we're extracting the most from every single one of them, regardless of either they like to do it or they don't.
Well, what I mean by like to, it's like what they're best at and what they're
Okay.
most valuable at, right? Because if AI
But
could do everything,
one second,
you
but
wouldn't
some
need to
people
have
are not.
salespeople at all.
But some people are not. Some people are not good at sales, but they're somehow dragged into this role because all they want to do is just making some money. What about those?
Okay,
There are many of those.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room. What business do they have being in sales if they don't want to be in sales? Which means they're not going to want to improve at sales because they don't want to be there.
Well, that's not the question. The question is like, there's a lot of people who are in sales because they want to make more money, but they're not in sales because they love sales. Not everybody who's in sales love to make, to do the sale, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough, environment in a way.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So again, our goal is not to figure out how to enhance that thing that they like to do, but to empower them, right, to do as much as they can do with the data that we're gathering, if that makes sense.
So that the people who are good at the things they do, they can continue doing those things.
Absolutely. I mean, the idea is in the end to make it easier for the salespeople to do what they intend to do, not necessarily like to do, but intend to do, which means that they want to sell more cars because in the end of the day, if they make more sales, they make more money, right?
Right.
So that's what they're here for. They're here to make more money, and we're here to help them to make more money.
Yeah. Makes sense. I get it. Okay. So what are some of those? Let's talk about, maybe we should get into detail on that. Like, what are some of those dealer level features and things that we're discussing on the pipeline right now?
So currently we're finishing up our auction bar, which is very much like a bar that it took us a very long time to figure out, like, what is it that needs to be like right in front of you, perhaps, right? Because, okay, so we changed a lot of things in our UI, right? Because the user interface is super crucial within the actual structure that is laid out to a person, And when it comes to a dealership, there is all kinds of things that are literally happening, right? So let's talk about the auction bar to start with. I think the auction bar it's kind of a centralized place where you can see everything that is actually happening right now or needs to happen. It's a matter of like the next couple minutes or during today date. It's a kind of a timeline, that describes your day in terms of events and tasks that needs to be happening. So if perhaps even if a price drop suggestion comes up, it will appear in the action bar as well. So if a task that you created, which is like, let's say, run the credit for this guy, do this, do that, it will appear there as well.
Okay.
If an appointment request will be requested by a customer, speaking into the AI, right, that will throw it into the action bar as well. The idea is to bring everything that matters right in front of you, right at the top of our UI, and which changes a lot of things in a way, right? So yeah, action bar is one of our main things to do at this moment of time because we believe that we want to enhance it. We want to make sure that everything that is important is in front of you. And at the moment, we're very much like analyzing how people are actually using it in order to see if there is room for improvements. This is at least for the first version of the action bar, if that makes sense.
But what about the other things? We talked about some other things like price drop notifications and things like that.
Price drop suggestion, you mean?
Suggestions, yeah, from on the yes. dealer side, because I'm trying to break this down into two categories. Number one is things that are going to be of benefit to users, which is salespeople,
Mm-hmm.
and then things that are going to be beneficial to dealers, which have nothing to do with salespeople, right? Which is more on the
Absolutely.
operation side.
So we are technically implementing things as we were kind of like restructuring the flow of the auction bar. So the idea is to bring again what matters the most at that moment of time into the auction bar. Meaning, so let's say for example on the price drop specifically, if you would like this answer, I mean I gotta answer that question in a way, is we're gonna get to it. Okay, so the idea behind the price drop suggestion, let's talk about that specifically, right? So as we spoke earlier, a lot of dealers had a lot of issues dropping prices, even though the feature is there. Okay, so practically in today, automation when it comes to price drop suggestion, all they need to do is literally go to inventory manager, drop the price, and any lead that's been associated to a vehicle, to a unit, perhaps, will receive a text message notification saying, "Hey, you know what? We just dropped that price for that vehicle." Blah blah blah. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, and we know already, at this point that majority of car dealers not really doing so, and some of those vehicles at the bottom of the aging, list ordered, are being abandoned almost in a way.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
some of those cars are like aging at 365 days, and I've seen even 600 days and above. And I think the biggest reason for that is because people, as they getting new inventory in, especially small shops, all they do is focusing on those vehicles, right? They're doing the all recon, they're preparing the vehicles, they're dealing with body shops, they're dealing with mechanic shops, and they're dealing with all kinds of things just to make sure that those vehicles are ready. And as they're preparing them, obviously, if I have a vehicle that is so deep into my lot and it's already having so much dust on it, I'm literally and naturally will forget about it, right? You're going to forget about that unit, and it's just going to be sitting and having more and more dust on it in a way, right? So, but no matter how you look at that, there's money in that unit, and that's what we're intending to correct in a way. And so the issue that we were being facing in this first version of the price drop automation was not necessarily the fact that the feature was exist at that moment of time, but the fact that the dealer didn't take the action that he takes in order to move the vehicle or to drop the price, so
Okay.
the vehicle will be moving, right? So we can sell get rid of
Yeah.
that unit and move to the next one. And I think that's brought us to the understanding that we need to create more of a suggestion, okay? And how a suggestion works is technically looking into your entire inventory, understanding the amount of leads you got on every vehicle, understanding when those leads came in, how hot they are, like how relevant they are, whatever that is, right? And figuring out, like, based on market situation right now, like what's going on right now in the market, where your car is actually standing, right? In order, again, on a price level, right? In order to market that vehicle to the price where it suits that sale, right? So, and then in that moment of time, we're creating a suggestion in which giving reasoning, not just a suggestions out of the blue. Hey, you should just lower that car $500 below blah blah blah. No,
Yeah, yeah.
it's more of a reasoning. There is a reason behind why you should lower the price of the vehicle. In which, giving you an example, I'll give you the best example. So lower that, let's say, vehicle by 500. Let's take that, okay? And the reason is because it's going to position your vehicle below, a certain vehicles within that market. He's going to give you the amount of vehicles and all those things, all the metrics. So
Okay.
you can kind of understand, okay, well, if I lower the price by $500, I still have some margin to be made, and I will probably be able to sell that car in like literally no time. That makes a difference. A lot of people call dealerships, and that's something that I always encouraging dealers, is that a lot of people, I know there's a lot of people who do negotiate prices, but there's a lot who don't, and they look at the price as a final price, and that 500 difference can make a big difference in a way,
Yeah.
because even if perhaps you lower the car by 500 and then someone call you and say, hey, can you lower it by another $200, or can you take this another $500 now off, or whatever that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather have the vehicle sitting or being sold, and move
Yeah.
to the next unit? Sometimes it's just better to get rid of a unit that sits for too long rather than just keep letting it sit and, add
Yeah, I
more
think we
dust on
touched
it.
on that. I mean, as time goes on, if you're not, if I drop price tomorrow, and if you look at, not to get too technical, but there's a thing called first data cookies on your website, which is
Sure.
basically your data. And for those people who might be wondering, it's like, it's your data. You don't have to depend on another, pixel from Facebook or Google Analytics code. It's basically your data and you can act on it. So dealers have a lot of first pixel data, if we want to look at it like that in their CRM. So if you have 10, 20, 30 leads on a vehicle and you drop the price, you're basically letting them all know at the same time in real time, correct?
That's right. I mean, if you don't have automation in a way, and
You can't
we
do it, man.
should
You
we
can't
should touch the
humanly do it.
technical
What are
in a
you going
way,
to do? Send 30 text messages every time you do a price drop?
Well,
You can't.
in the old days, obviously it wasn't possible, right? So people they never done it, right? But in some cases, I must say, a lot of dealers, let's take that great example. A lot of dealers has been taking a vehicle that is aging, and all of a sudden they receive a lead,
Okay.
and they might drop the price but talk to only one single lead. So they're always depending on that one single lead to say, sure, I'm interested or whatever.
Right.
But
Right.
again, they're very much in the mercy of that one lead,
Yeah.
and there's
Because
just
they
not
didn't build
enough,
an audience.
right?
They didn't build an audience.
Yeah.
Correct?
Well, yeah, of course.
So, but let's take that just one step further.
Okay.
And let's say you've got, which you do, you always have multiple dealers having the same unit, unless it's a crazy classic or a rare piece, right?
Mhm.
But let's say it's a, I don't know, 2024 Tesla Model S or Ford F-150, whatever, any car, 2024.
Sure.
You're going to have more than one car in the market for that vehicle. And
Always.
if you don't, you're going to go wider. You're going to go 100 miles, 200 miles, 300, whatever.
Yeah, for
500
sure.
miles.
Yeah, you're gonna
So
extend the distance. Yeah.
that we know. So it's not the, I guess the question is, if I'm dealer A and you're dealer B, and I got 10 leads on this car and you got 10 leads on this car, same
Yeah.
year, make, model, trim, price. I mean, it's never going to be identical, but you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
And outside of the relationships that, the sales reps are building, because those are also very important, right? If
Yes.
somebody trusts you, they're more likely to buy from you and at least
Absolutely.
continue that conversation. So let's
Yes.
say all those things are kind of even.
Yeah. There are only two metrics, right? I mean, let's talk about that. Let's just put it out there. There's only two metrics. There's no 3, 4, 5, nothing.
what?
There's only two metrics that kind of define a sale. One, it's a price, okay? And the second, okay, is how much I trust you. That's
Okay.
very much what defines a sale. Sometimes I will be willing to pay a little bit more because I do trust you more. You know? And there's a lot of people.
When it comes to that final tier, right? When you're like, okay, I'm comparing these cars between these two dealers because
it's all about comparison. Yes.
It's comparison. It's comparison. So they might buy for, 1,000 different reasons. But if you have dealer A and dealer B, and they're both an option for the consumer to purchase from, the one who's doing better follow-up, more transparency, higher trust is going to win 90% of the time, even if the price is higher. I mean, we're not talking astronomically higher. If it's a grand 2 or 3, if you're buying with trust, it's okay to spend more money because the price is not always the main selling factor and the last selling factor. It's not.
Sure.
We know it.
No,
we've overpaid for things, and we've gladly overpaid for things in the past. Right?
You know what? I'll give you more further. I think that the fact that there's it goes back again to the same point which you said earlier, which is like the comparison part, right? Like how people are actually buying a vehicle. Let's start with that. They're buying a vehicle by comparing what is out there, right?
Okay.
In relation to what they're looking for, right? So if let's say I'm looking for an SUV, perhaps, right? I will look at the budget that I have. I will say, okay, this is how much I'm capable of paying, payments or cash, whatever that is. And then I'm going to look what is out there. What is it that the market has to offer in that range of, segments that I have.
And
you
usually
know?
there's quite a few in those situations. There's quite a few listings of those. It's not like there's 2 listings. You're right. You're going to have
Absolutely.
dozens of listings. Yeah.
Unless you're looking again into a specific,
Or classical or
trim, which
rare
is
car.
very rare. But
Correct.
yeah,
So
it doesn't. Yeah,
excluding those, the majority of sales are not those, right?
sure. Yes,
We're talking about those
correct.
people. Yeah.
So that's something that we have to kind of like look into at all times, but that doesn't change. Even though we are looking in order to improve this whole procedure from the dealer side, the consumer still acting the same at all times. It's the same mechanism over and over again. And it doesn't really matter either is my mom trying to buy a car or trying to buy a car. There's no difference, right?
Yeah. There's that consistent baseline, but over time, it feels like AI is just going to make that part a lot more important.
Well,
As time goes on.
depends. It really depends, because AI can come in so many different types of forms, and we can see it right off the bat right now as we're speaking. And AI not necessarily makes it good. I give you a classic scenario.
Wait a minute. Let me backtrack. So those human elements, the human components that we're talking about, the more AI that comes out, which is non-personal, it's only going to make those things a lot more important and a lot more valuable.
Yeah, sure.
Which is the relationship, which is the trust, which is the follow-up.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like the price drop automations that you talked about.
But let me ask you a question.
In our system, you don't think they're AI? Wait a minute. The system
sure, go
that's triggering out those price drop notifications.
Yes.
You're not going to think no one's going to think they're AI, because it's going to say,
sure. Yeah, it's
John,
very personalized.
Just want to let you know.
I want to stop. But I want to stop you. Go for it.
They're going to send out a text message. They're going to say, hey, John, this is so-and-so. Just want to let you know I dropped this price. At that point, it doesn't feel like an AI, correct?
Well, no, it doesn't. But
okay.
But wait a second, that's what I'm trying to refer to. At what moment of time an AI feels like an AI? That's a question. That's a $1 million question.
Yes, correct.
Right?
Correct.
Like, I'll give you an example. Like, what if that AI start bombarding you with so many text messages to the point where you're like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. Like, stop sending me messages. I don't want to hear about you. Stop talking to me. I don't want to do anything with you. Where is the balance between like a normal to not normal?
Totally.
Where you're like killing it, like you're doing too much, right?
Like so what was that again? At what point does an AI, what was the question?
At what point an AI becomes too aggressive, right? That's the question.
At what point does it feel like an AI?
Well, sure, yeah, but at the same time, being aggressive, because a human perhaps won't have the time to make another follow-up and another follow-up and another follow-up. So by nature, I understand as a consumer, something is going on over here, and it's not the human. There's no way in the world this human sending me this message. I don't care how wonderful it's written and personalized. You know what I mean?
Like there's a fine line, but there's a fine line.
Yes.
With AI becoming spam, kind of like what happened with email.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
For
robocalls, right? Robocalls. Who doesn't in today's world? Like, who doesn't experience robocalls? Like, my phone doesn't stop ringing, literally, like 100%. Nonstop.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So we had letters, and then we had mass mailings.
That's right.
Right.
Then we moved to robocalls.
Direct phone calls. Then we got, hey, I'm Rachel. Direct robocalls, right? And then we had personalized emails, one-on-one communications. Then we had spam emails.
That's right.
We had text messaging, spam text. So basically everything that we've used as a communication channel has eventually becomes, there's a huge spam component to it.
Absolutely.
Right. So
absolutely.
And that's going to happen with AI, no matter how you look at it, no matter who gets into the game, you're going to have them.
It's happening right now, Vanya. It's happening right now as we're speaking.
Right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So I guess there is an art to this that leverages AI as an assistant, not to the point where it feels like AI, because AI feels like spam.
That's right.
Maybe not because people are afraid of it, but because people are frustrated by it. I'm frustrated by it. If I had a spam call by somebody, I would respect that a lot more. I saw an ad. I don't know what it's called. It's like, hey, here's a sales AI agent that can handle those conversations for you. Remember that?
Yes.
We called the company, we demoed it because we want to know.
Yeah.
It was horrific. After 5 minutes, the first time that it slips,
Yes.
and it slips all the time, but
Yeah, it
let's say you
does.
have a 10-minute conversation, first time it slips, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I feel like an idiot for doing this.
Okay.
And
What do you
don't
mean,
you?
idiot?
Huh?
What?
I feel like an idiot for having a reasonable conversation with a machine.
I see what you mean. Yeah. Well,
You
because
know,
it's a machine in the end of the day, and it feels
machine,
like a machine too.
right?
So,
Right.
and that's the kind of like, tiny border between realizing you're talking to a machine versus talking to a human. And we have to be in the mission at all
Right.
times to keep it so it feels like a human. It doesn't feel like a machine.
Yeah. Our industry, we go back to COVID,
Yeah.
and as the needs change for the consumer, the needs change for the dealer, and as the needs change for the dealer and the consumer, the needs change for software companies like us.
Yes.
And some software companies roll with the needs, others stay stagnant and only market the needs.
Yes. Sure.
Right. So, like, if imagine someone's building an AI and says, okay, on the back of the AI, there's still a human component to your company because that is your authenticity.
Well, I mean, why to think it? Like, let's just say
no
that's
matter how
what
you
we
look
do
at
in
it,
here.
right? So we're here having these conversations
Yeah.
because we want to hear from dealers. We want to tackle industry
That's right.
problems. We want to document the process. We don't mind talking about failures, but at the end of the day,
Well, let's be honest, really, really quick. Like, we created this entire open, kitchen in a way, in order to receive those criticism, in order to learn from it as fast as we can, so we can implement as fast as we can, so we can improve as fast as we
right.
can.
So
Because again, our mission is to make sales, and help the dealer make as many sales as we can help him to make. And so having this kind of discussion open to everybody allows us to do so. So the whole idea of this channel to begin with is to have our discussions as open as wide as they can be, right? In order for people to be able to see what we're doing in our kitchen. It's like, imagine going into a restaurant and having a big, clear, glass where you can see what's going on in the kitchen. And that's exactly what we're doing in here. We're opening, to the public. And I think it's very, entrepreneur way to kind of like allow people to enter in and for us to be influenced by what people says, like commenting on what we're saying and doing what we're doing. And I think this whole thing that's what it's all about, is being criticized, is being open to be criticized. We're not afraid of being criticized at all. And that's something that defines us in so many ways, right? Like, think about it, how wonderful that is to be criticized, and not being afraid of being criticized. Because again, our speed of implementation, it's so fast to the point where we're like, okay, we see an issue, we kind of analyze the issue, we're trying to grab as much data as we can of the issue, and then we're like creating either a patch or a fix, or maybe doing a split test, whatever that is, in order to overcome that issue as fast as we can, and that's what defines us. That's what makes us better as a company, if that makes sense.
yes. So back to what we were talking about, there's people behind every product.
Yes.
No matter how you look at it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that even with AI, there's people behind every single product, right? So
Yes.
there's no reason to hide behind AI. There's no reason to hide behind marketing, and for example, back to the software conversation, like I was saying, a lot of software companies kind of just like fundamentally stay like this, but market like that as time goes on,
Sure.
and to build a software or anything for any industry, you have to spend time in this industry. And spending time in the industry is not having a form that says, hey, tell us what features you'd like. Spending time in the industry is openly talking about it, discussing the issues, discussing the problems, discussing the wins, discussing the benefits, discussing the tips of what other people are doing. And also, like, both you and me, what do we do on a weekend? When there's downtime, we go to a lot. We go to a franchise store. We go to our friends who are in the industry. You
Yes.
live the business. You talk the business.
We
And
have to. We
you,
have to.
you
We have to.
have
Yeah.
to.
We
Because
have to.
a lot of the time when people ask for something, it's not really what they need.
That's right.
And sometimes the things that in any business that people need, it's very hard to ask for, and sometimes easier for someone from the side to see it. And we've had so many of these
Brings me
conversations.
back to those ideas and times where we, as a business owners and developer, me myself, and trying to figure what else can we do in order to help those car dealers, and what can we build, what can we improve, what can we achieve in order for them to make more sales. And I think that we end up spending a lot of times, like sometimes even months in some situations, just to be able to achieve that one thing that not necessarily really worked in a way. And I think that makes the all difference, because opening our, again, kitchen for everybody to criticize and say, okay, what's wrong with this dish? Tell me. And gathering not just data, but getting a feel of the field, like what's going on in the field for reals. Like you're saying, like we're spending literally our entire life, in the last 13 years now, trying to gathering information and understanding the dealers and what they're experiencing, so we can improve the technology, and in which can influence again back to sales. And that's something that defines us in today's world.
Yeah, because
that's what makes us different.
We started Goxee not to build a software company. We started this whole thing in order to fix points of frustration that we had when we were in the business, running the business.
Yes.
That was almost 14 years ago now.
Yeah. I think we're sharing something in common, Vanya. It's a great time to say that. There's a lot of different types of people, in the world. And I think me and you sharing something very much like that is making us alike, which we like to help people in general. It wasn't to make money to start with. It was helping our close people so they can make money, but it wasn't about the money to start with. Like when I started this business, like my way of thinking, right? It's like, how can I make my cousin more money?
Yeah. So we were curious, pissed off, and excited at the same time.
Sure.
Curious, pissed off, and excited. We were curious because we knew there's more out there. We were pissed off because the software that was out there for independent dealers had nothing to do with car dealerships, and whoever built it
and the technology too, it was just very off.
Spent a day on the lot selling a car, and you could see that by default.
Yeah, I mean, let's kind of break it down. Like, there's even in today, most of the companies, who runs this industry are either the background of the people behind the scenes are either software engineers,
right,
who have no idea about car dealerships, or on the other end, you have just car dealers running software companies, but they have no idea about technology.
Right.
So, I mean, the cross between me and you makes the whole difference in a way, if you think about it. Like,
100%.
I'm coming with bringing, of course, the technology and, of course, the dealership, expertise too, because I run a dealership. I bought and sold cars on the streets. And, I've done it all. I know the entire procedure because I lived it as I, get into this country to start with. And then you run a dealership yourself. But not just that, we both sharing the marketing side of things, which is literally everything about the sale. If you think about it, right? Like, for me, it was more about like building websites and delivering messages to the outside world, so people can actually look at your either service or product and be able to kind of like say, I would like to have this service, I would like to have this product because it's this and that, whatever that is, right?
Right.
And it was all about like delivering messaging at all times. And you I mean, you can speak for it. I mean, you've done so much, all kinds of different things. You've done printing for so many years. You've done websites with me too.
Yeah, we've done.
You've done
a lot of
car
things,
sales for a couple good amount of years.
Yeah.
You're very much like,
for
there's
me,
so much
a
in
big
you,
component.
man.
Yeah, a big component of that has been the sales process and the sales funnel
And helping people, right?
But a big part of building people up and motivating people to kind of have a best version of themselves, however they choose to run it. It was never like a, hey, here's a black and white approach, and unfortunately, there's not always a lot of long-term value in that. The people that really want to learn are typically going to, pick up and do their own thing. And that's happened plenty of times, and that's okay too. But
Yes.
what was really difficult in any one of these businesses was to scale it, to scale it in a way where you have some type of advantage. Because to start a small car dealership, even back then, was a lot easier than it is today. That we're talking about 2009, 10, 11. Even though it was after the '08 crisis and the cash for clunkers program, it was still a lot easier than it is today, because the consumers, there wasn't, the power was on the dealer side. You can make money on the back end. I don't even need to get into that, but it's much more difficult today. And in times where their difficulty is higher, we need tools to help us cut through the crap. And we got into this to build those tools because, I couldn't afford to pay $2,500 back then for vAuto when we had 20 cars on the lot. I couldn't do it. I tried it for a couple months, but it got expensive. On top of that, you got your marketing, you got all these other factors.
For sure.
But not having that, the franchise store down the street, or somebody 3 times the size having it, hurt my business. Hurt my business tremendously. Somebody with a better website, somebody with better Craigslist ads, hurt my business tremendously.
Absolutely.
Just because they could afford to have the software. I think whoever has the ability to deliver a good value, to fill a need, and to build trust in the process should win.
Well, I think what defines win is more of like how many sales you can make in the end of the day.
Should be winning.
And so that's the winner, right? If you can help me make sales, I will sign up with you. It's very simple. I'll give you my business. It's very simple. You
have so many car dealers nationwide today, right now, nationwide, who have been in the business for a really long time, and you have some who just got into the business.
Yes.
Okay. They're working their asses off. Okay, they're doing it the right way. They're taking care of their customers. Something goes wrong after the fact, they take care of the customer, right?
Yes.
But if that doesn't come across to the customer, if it doesn't come across to in their reputation, they get no benefit from this. Who gets the benefit? The one who might have a bigger budget and is bullshitting the reputation, kind of like a lot of software companies that we were just talking about, right?
Usually the bigger fish, obviously you're going to survive more. It's just normal. That's the way the world is designed and shaped. If you got bigger budget, naturally you're having more power.
They do. You're right. They do have bigger budgets, but sometimes there's that old saying, the air is very thin at the top, and when you're small, you're very flexible and you're able to make fast decisions and fast pivots, which large dealerships are not. But you can't start your day copying and pasting what everybody else is doing.
Well, but guess what? We're in such an industry that almost every car dealer is copy pasting from each other. No offense on anybody, but that's how this whole industry has been shaped in the recent 20 years.
You're right, but they're copying and pasting shortcuts. That's what they're copying and
pasting.
They
do. They at least think that's what's going to give them the edge. At least.
One car gurus right now. You're going to see that majority of photos are still not good enough. The descriptions are auto-generated by software. They have no personality, right? You call 10 car dealerships right now. If we were to get them on the line, talk to sales, I guarantee probably 2 of them will be fire.
Yeah, for sure.
There's so many things that can still be done because as a owner of a dealership, you have absolute control of how you pick up your phone or how your 2 or 3 people pick up the phone, how they follow up. What they do, how they take care of your customers, how you get reviews. We didn't even talk about getting reviews.
That's right.
And that's a lot harder for a large franchise store because, you might have 20, 30 sales reps. You're going to have your team meetings. You're going to have your team buildings. You're going to buy amazing courses for everybody to get better at sales and all this stuff. And nobody's going to read them. No one's going to follow through.
Listen, the more people, the more units you have on the lot, the less control you have. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine... Yeah. If you have 20 people to talk to and hope that all the 20 will follow your instructions, that's not reasonable to think that way because it's human. You're depending on the human,
Unless you have the systems, because
that's right.
We're doing a lot of stuff that we shouldn't even be doing right now. There's sales reps who are not doing what they should be doing and doing what they shouldn't be doing.
Yes.
And this is where that AI needs to fit in. Is like it needs to do the for them that they shouldn't be doing anyways, but is of value and does not jeopardize the AI spam effect on the customer and still build
Correct.
trust.
Correct. That's again that's a challenge. That's a challenge that we will continue facing in the coming years, and we need to make sure that we finding a balanced place where we don't really, we don't burn it, because it's very easy to burn it. Especially with a customer who's just checking on availability and all of a sudden receive like
Absolutely.
tons of like follow-ups and just like, you know what, I'm not gonna do business with this guy. That's
Right.
for sure. He's
Yeah.
hassling me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I reached out, I got my car maybe April.
Mhm.
I'm still getting bombarded with total bullshit text messages
Yes.
that are autoresponder and have nothing to do with what I talked about.
Oh, I bet.
And
bet.
on top of that, we're like, we appreciate you and we're thankful. Fuck you. You're full of shit. And I know
Absolutely.
you're full of shit,
That's right.
and you're bombarding my personal cell phone.
Yes.
Not good, man. But anyways,
Yeah.
cool.